Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Tundu. Good morning, Leila. Let's start the newspaper review with this day newspaper as usual. Lead story, Presidency denies sack of Osinbajo's aides. Now that story is also leading a number of other newspapers, and we'll just take a look at them. Vanguard, mixed reaction trails sack of Osinbajo's 35 aides. Rift between Buhari, Osinbajo, imaginary. Hashed by mischief makers, that's CAN, the Christian Association of Nigeria. Handle this issue with care, Junaid Mohammed. Buhari may not be aware, Pandev. VP's aides deny lists. Now, Daily Sun, as Presidency opens up on Osinbajo, Awo's grandson, ex-governor Ajimobi's daughter, among sacked VP's aide. While, of course, those three newspapers have that story. And denying the lists, I don't know whether that will put this matter to rest. I doubt, because if you just look at it, was denied by a tweet from Laolu Akonde, who is the spokesman for the vice president. And he said, a list circulating in the media on the so-called sacked presidential aide is not genuine and ought to be ignored. Where did that list emanate from? You will
this is the question.
Also want to ask, because it's not enough to just say we should ignore it.
Exactly.
And one newspaper, and that is the Daily Independent. Indeed, in their own story, the Daily Independent, Presidency releases names of Osinbajo's sacked aides. There it was mentioned that the names of the 35 aides of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo sacked by President Muhammadu Buhari were released on Thursday by the Presidency. That's according to the Daily Independent newspaper, because newspapers in Nigeria don't manufacture lists. That list must have been received from somewhere. But if the spokesperson to the vice president is saying they should ignore that list, because yesterday also, when this report first broke, that there was that 35 persons have received letters. Some were even prevented from having access.
Yes, I read that.
Yes, when this report emerged yesterday, of course, there was also a report that said they've been asked to ignore the letters they received. So
this is the thing. It appears that there was a report that a sacking had happened, but it also appears that the people the affected individuals have been told to sit tight. Therefore, no sacking happened. Because if you're sitting tight, then you still have a job.
Yeah.
Well, so
it's just a huge concern. It's so confusing.
Yes, while we may be asked to ignore that list, where did that list emanate from?
Exactly.
So this is the thing. This is what I want to know. There's somebody clearly
because
up to some
if these
mischief.
35 persons work in the office of the vice president, who compiled their names?
Exactly. There is someone
there was a name, there was a designation. It was so detailed.
Yeah.
It wasn't just 35 people. They actually listed those people.
Exactly.
So there's definitely a campaign underway.
According to the Daily Independent, the list was released by the Presidency, and the denial is coming from the Presidency, the spokesperson of the Vice President. And that tweet came late in the night, whereas this list has been circulating all day. Well, let's move on to some other stories. Now, the Daily Trust. Why customs ban fuel supply to border communities? This story is also on the front pages of other newspapers. According to the Daily Trust, residents groan IPMAN backs decision. IPMAN is the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. Backed the decision, but one other newspaper said that IPMAN is kicking against that ban, which we'll see in a short while. The Punch newspaper, fuel sales suspension, Nupeng Pengasin back federal government, border residents fume. Border filling stations conduit for smuggling, says union. Customs incompetence responsible for smuggling, according to the community leaders. Now, the Nation newspaper, still the same story, pains gains of land border closure by Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Customs, row over ban on fuel supply at border towns. Now, if you look at the story, what the Customs is saying that the reason why they ban the supply of fuel to filling stations 20 kilometers to the border is because they serve as a conduit. According to the Customs, they argue that most of the filling stations only served as conduit for stocking and thereafter lifting of the products for onward delivery to neighboring communities to be sold at exorbitant prices in the neighboring countries. Now, the Customs acknowledging their own failure in one way or the other, because moving petroleum products, sometimes tankers, these are things you cannot just do.
They're not inconspicuous.
Yeah. So, but this ban has come, and IPMAN, that's why it's the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association, in another report, they are saying, if they enforce that directive, we are going to go against it. You should not give somebody a license and you stop him because he's 20 kilometers from the border. So,
another contradiction there.
Yes, that's from IPMAN also. But clearly, it's something that has been going on for a while because of the subsidized petroleum products in Nigeria. Some unscrupulous persons, marketers, individuals move these products to neighboring countries and they sell this at exorbitant prices and make a kill at the expense of the Nigerian economy.
And it's been going on for far too long. It's an institution now, quite frankly.
Exactly.
It's been going on for ages.
You see, another good reason why perhaps the border closure will be on for some time. But like we have said on this program, you cannot close the border forever.
No, exactly.
So you must put in place measures to check this smuggling, whether it is rice, chicken, or petroleum products, over time without necessarily shutting your borders permanently.
No, this definitely has to be a short-term measure, although some of the benefits are being touted, such as this curbing of this illegal trade in fuel, curbing of kidnapping apparently is on the decrease, if you believe that.
Human trafficking also?
Yes, but at the same time, our borders are porous.
Exactly.
Even as we speak, money is exchanging hands. There's still people making a killing off of government policies. This is the thing. So for every government policy, there's going to be somebody who is able and willing to abuse it.
Okay.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, let's move on. The Guardian newspaper, CCB AGF moved to block bank accounts of 200 public officers. Yes, according to the story, Bureau plans to automate operations. Malami whittles down powers of EFCC, ICPC. Those are other stories embedded in that lead story. Now, according to this story, 200 public officers have been investigated, their accounts known, harboring as much as 400 billion, 40 billion naira harbored in those accounts. So they will move against them, freeze those accounts, and prosecute those government officials. Now, let's move on to the foreign newspapers outside the shores of Nigeria. Yes, the campaign is on. The Guardian UK. Labour and Tories launch bidding war on spending. Now, Labour and the Conservative unveiled their programs, but as according to this report, they have turned the election into public spending bidding war, promising massive programs of borrowing. Yes, the Chancellor unveiled the program of Labour, that's Javid Savid, as well. Then John McDonnell, the shadow Chancellor, also. Both programs reached with massive spending, unseen in recent times, compared to the 1970s kind of spending. And according to the Fiscal Institute of Fiscal Planning in the UK, the Institute of Fiscal Studies, rather, according to them in UK, this is an unsustainable kind of spending both parties are proposing. So whatever party comes to power, expect so much spending, whether Labour or Conservative.
So more empty promises then.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr.
Thanks, Mr.
Efeni.
Efeni.